Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. A massive patch update arriving into the game yesterday. TenZ and others giving their reaction to some serious changes, especially to the Vandal and the Phantom, removing a lot of the reserve ammo. Is this a good thing? Is this a negative thing? TenZ and Durka definitely with differing opinions here. Very much enjoyed to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. We'll just quickly mention, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, just because evil geniuses say, how do we lose Bold 1? And yeah, I've got him, kind of they ask all the guys, have you seen Demon 1? And they eventually find him here on like the desktop background. People were wondering whether this was a bit of a reference to, maybe like Demon 1's actually gone, as in he's gone on to Tokyo, right, to join the team. Not sure that's the case. Would be nice if it was the case. There was also this though from Paper X showing that they've arrived in Tokyo, but something not spotted it. We see Benkai on the left-hand side. Of course, I like cigarettes, right, is potentially going to be their sub now. But yeah, no something here as it stands. So maybe they can get it sorted over the coming days, but right now, they're not in prime position, Paper X, to capitalize on their #1 seeding coming out of the Pacific region, taking down DRX in kind of incredible fashion. There was also this from FNS, a response early yesterday to Ye's tweet on the frustrations with the DSG situation over the last couple of months. As he says, just say you miss me, right? If FNS was to be IGLing DSG, I think they'd probably have a very different success story over the last couple of months, potentially. But yeah, maybe FNS is implying that, like, Ye at some point come back and make the return. Artis has been good for NRG, no doubt about it. I think he fits that team very well. But yeah, if Ye was there with those guys, maybe it'd be better, maybe it'd be worse. Who knows, right? I mean, Ye, since the Chamber's gone, hasn't quite been the same player. But maybe Chamber's actually kind of back. And we'll get into the patch updates here in a second, because Chamber has been rebuffed to a certain extent. There's also this from Heretics officially confirming that Zeke is now gone. Kind of incredible, actually, looking back at that Ascends Champions winning roster and where those guys are today, like, Killers and players like that, like, where have they gone? Who even knows at this point, honestly? Even cNed had a bit of a hard time, bit of a break before he's now bounced back on that Na'Vi team. But yeah, Zeke is gone from Heretics officially. They benched him a while ago. The rumor was that, like, basically internal chemistry was terrible, and it's not necessarily like he was being massively toxic, but just the environment became toxic. Zeke had to go, so read into that as you will. So Zeke was going to do a twit longer on this, but said didn't see it working, so it's kind of unlucky. Mutually terminated the contract because there was still some fire in me. Even if I have to reset to the VRLs, the kind of regional leagues, I will come back to the top with people that I enjoy playing with. So kind of talking about that he didn't enjoy playing with that Heretics team, and mutually terminated the contract. Now, of course, him getting benched wasn't necessarily a mutual decision in the first place, as in the team, I imagine, decided to drop him from the roster, but now they came to a mutual agreement at that point to then terminate the deal, so he's not stuck on the bench anymore, and he can go and do his own thing. He also replies to this tweet here, so this tweet basically says that, he was toxic type thing, right? If I go and, translate this one. This guy's a content creator for Heretics and says, but no, it's time to leave the little immature child that does not benefit you at all. Anyway, good luck at esports. No doubt he's still a great player. So yeah, pretty interesting back and forth here between all parties, to be honest. Let's talk about the patch updates then. So 6.11, the patch notes arrive. The Pearl changes were probably the biggest part of this. We saw what they looked like the other day, mainly over there towards the B bomb site, trying to help the defenders a bit more, right? Because as it stands, it's possible to retake the site for sure, but the way it tends to work is the attackers just run in and plant if they want to. If it's like a 1v1, maybe you go to A, but if it's not, you probably just go B and hope that it works out in your favor. But many changes to benefit the defenders there, and we'll see that in a second. But also though, Viper, a nerf to her, a buff to Chamber, and a couple of changes to weapons as well, actually. So this is probably the biggest part of this, actually. So this box on the right hand side has been widened, and it now means that you can fit an entire smoke right here. So whatever smoke you've got, a Viper smoke, an Astra smoke, whatever you're up to, a Brimstone for example, it can now cover off the entire width of that. So this is a pretty big deal, right? As a defender, it's definitely helpful to have this possibility to be able to change smokes in this spot and make it more challenging for the attackers to come through. So that's one advantage. It also gives more options, these boxes, to defenders trying to take some angles. There's also a couple of other changes to the back of the site which give defenders more places to play. So hopefully that'll be a positive change, actually. At least give the defenders more chance of defending as site executes, and at least being able to delay the attackers a little bit longer. These are the changes that then were copied over from the public beta environment. So the trademark disabled range has been increased to 5,000, the arm speed has been reduced, the rendezvous can now be instantly equipped, and the fire rate of the Tour de Force, the ultimate, has been increased again by 15% It was massively nerfed a while ago. I mean, it used to fire so fast, it was kind of insane, actually. So they've increased it slightly. Viper, she's had her regeneration reduced per second to 5% down to 3.3, which has caused time to regenerate to max fuel once empty to increase up to 30 seconds from 20, which is again a pretty big deal. So yeah, it's a relatively significant chamber buff and a relatively significant Viper nerf. Couple of small changes to the other agents, but I think that's a pretty big deal actually, because chamber, I don't know if he's viable again. He's probably not quite viable yet. He's never going to be viable the way that he was previously. But I think he's going to be up there, right? He's going to be at least in the conversation for being a possibility again with some of the tweaks that they've made. So we'll see how this goes. Is this going to reduce the effectiveness of Viper? I don't know, but it seems like most pros are kind of on board that these ideas are relatively good ones. Where things get very interesting, though, is when we get down to some changes, especially on the running accuracy. So this is your vertical recoil multiplier while running, which has been increased quite substantially for many weapons. The Phantom, the Spectre, the Vandal, and the Frenzy. So with all these weapons, the intention is to reduce the potency of run and gun. Obviously, it's not particularly viable with the Phantom and the Vandal anyway, but for these other guns, it has been a possibility. But now, while running, the recoil multiplier has been increased quite substantially, and it'll be more difficult to keep your shots on target and actually have those shots connect. So this is a pretty big change. The other major change that probably has caused the most discussion on this actually has been the reserve ammunition. So the Phantom, you start with 30 bullets, 90 in reserve. The Vandal, of course, 5 less, 5 less in all magazines that you bring into the weapon, but actually they're reducing the reserve ammo from 90 down to just 60. So one entire magazine of ammunition is now gone, and it's the same on the Vandal from 75 down to 50. So this is a pretty big deal, and the intention is here to lessen spamming. This is especially with the Phantom. Like, you'll see every round, people are just spamming smokes, they're just spamming all sorts of stuff because they might as well. There's no real downside to it. There's plenty of bullets in the mag, just fire away. But now this is going to be potentially harmful, because if you do it too much, you're going to have too few bullets left at the end of the round to actually make plays, especially when it comes to potentially getting rid of a Sage wall or something. This is actually an indirect buff to Sage, because her wall is now quite significantly more powerful. Now, there are other alternatives, of course, if you actually want to have a lot of bullets and fire through smokes and stuff, which is possibly what they're getting at here. Durka also went on to reply to the fact that, like, how am I meant to destroy Sage walls now? And this has been the big talking point now, that, well, look, if a Sage wall comes down late round, potentially, when there's not many bullets left in the mag, what are you going to do? It's going to be difficult to get rid of it. So, yeah, maybe Sage gets marginally more powerful. Maybe the teams have to be a little bit more careful how much they're spamming, which I don't mind personally. This is why I think that TenZ, I kind of align with TenZ's perspective on this, that says, look, this patch actually looks good, W, and then replies and says, slowly but surely we will achieve more precise gunplay. And this is kind of the point that a lot of players are trying to get towards. We know that, let's say the recall patterns in Valorant aren't exactly super predictable. There is an element of RNG in there. Some of the first shot accuracy, other factors aren't exactly, as precise as some players would like them to be. So I guess TenZ's point here is like, look, if you're running around, you're going to get punished for it, most certainly, which is a key point. Obviously, we have the shorty nerfs as well with the price increases and all this type of stuff that also happens with today's play. But yeah, so more precise gunplay is what TenZ is getting at, and he's happy with this direction they are taking to achieve exactly that. Before we close out the video, though, wanted to discuss what Plat had to say on the Masters Tokyo event coming up very soon. This is their rankings as it stands for the best players in the world. They've gone for Aspas #1, who basically got the highest total points, then Durka, then less, then Leo, Mako, something who may or may not even be there, Safe, Chronicle, Alpha, Forsaken, and then you have to get all the way down to 11 to find a player that is from the North American side in Crashes. I think it's nice that Crashes is getting a lot of credit, because I definitely think it's justified. Even Boaster makes the list here, right? Sagetsu, like, not many North American representation here, but still understandable that you've got two guys from that Loud team. Aspas and Les have both been pretty ridiculous, but they're only second in their power rankings. Now, of course, this is dependent in some regard on what they said during the episode. I know that MCE from Cloud9 was doing his best to try and play down where some of the North American teams were, but still, Fnatic #1, Loud #2, then those are two clear favourites. Then you've got PaperX, NRG. They've got them tied for third best, which is maybe justified as well, but of course, if there's no something, then it's a very different story. So they've got them down in 10th here if that's the case. Liquid 4th, then DRX, then Na'Vi. Then we've got Foot, who've been playing well lately for sure, EG, T1, and then down at the bottom, the two Chinese teams. We know that Plat historically has a bit of a reputation for getting some interesting things wrong here. So maybe there's a world in which attacking Seoul Esports take the entire thing. But yeah, that's what they came up with here. We'll see what happens when we get to the event. There also was this I wanted to mention because Bodork was talking about the off-season and the tier 2 scene and some of the issues they're having with that right now. And as he says, look, there's plenty more they've got to think about. And actually, Leo Farrier says, details on the 2023 off-season are coming, but the big change comes next year with an overhaul of the tier 2 ecosystem, with competitions year-round and a strong connection with Premier. I acknowledge this year's a bit tough. We're very committed to making tier 2 thrive. So this really does kind of dig in to all the storylines we saw yesterday and the day before of some of the players in tier 2 saying, look, this 6 months break is not going to work. All the organizations are going to probably drop their entire team, because why would they not when they need the money over that period? They're not getting anything in return. So yeah, the point is that tier 2 is going to go all year round in the future, and this season has been far from optimal, and therefore they're going to try and actually adjust it in the correct manner going forward. So this is nice to see, but unfortunately it's too early this year for that to be the case. And just along those lines, actually, Eng, who was brought in for TSM, I'm not exactly sure why, to be honest, but you know, he's now been let go, so they're parting ways with him as their assistant coach. TSM, I'm kind of unclear why they brought him into the first place, in my opinion, but maybe you can find a new team in a different league. But this is just another example of teams letting go of their players, and I'm sure there's going to be more of this over the coming days. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Just one final thing here, actually, from Will might have thought was pretty cool. The best teams on Bind. Technically, the best record on Bind is Edward Gaming, but you know, fundamentally, they might not have played the best competition. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.